Hi. It was one of those late summer Saturdays where the sun doesn't set so much as melt into the tree lean, and the air feels like it's trying to remember how to breathe. Her dad's backyard was buzzing. Kids chasing bubbles, someone manning the grill, red Solo cups scattered like confetti on picnic tables draped in checkered cloth. I'd always liked these family barbecues. They felt like tradition, like something you anchor yourself to when the rest of life feels adrift. Her uncles always asked about work, her aunties passed me extra potato salad, and her dad, well, he still called me coach, even though I never played a minute of football in my life. We were 3 years married by then. Still slept facing each other. Still had date nights. Still said, I love you, in that warm, unthinking way that felt like muscle memory. If there were cracks forming, I hadn't seen them yet. Or maybe I'd just chosen not to. She was radiant that day. Loose linen dress, sunglasses perched on her head, laughing in that way that pulled people in without trying. I stood off to the side near the smoker, nursing a lemonade, chatting with her cousin Jared, the one who'd just moved back from Denver. He was the only one of her cousins I really clicked with. Funny, no filter, always a little buzzed. So, Jared said, glancing at her across the yard, how long you two been together now? It was a casual question. Simple. Tossed out between bites of corn on the cob. But it didn't land like that. She was maybe 10 feet away, but I saw her whole body pause. Just for a second. A subtle stutter in the rhythm of her laughter, like a skipped beat in a song you've heard 1,000 times. Then she turned. Smiled. Almost 5 years now, she said. Not wrong. Not exactly. We'd met 5 years ago. But it wasn't what she said. It was how fast she answered. How tight her voice sounded under the ease. And something else I couldn't name yet. A look she shot Jared. Quick. Warning? Pleading? Jared didn't smile back. He nodded, tossed his napkin on the table, and excused himself to grab a drink. I stood there, blinking against the smoke from the grill, trying to piece together the strange little interaction like a puzzle missing half its pieces. Later, I asked her about it. Just lightly. Hey, what was that look with Jared about? She laughed it off, brushing corn silk from her dress. What look? The one after he asked how long we've been together. Oh, she said, stretching the word out, pretending to think. Nothing. Just, Jared. Always asking weird questions. But I didn't know Jared like that. Jared wasn't weird. Jared was direct. Honest. And now he was avoiding me for the rest of the barbecue. I let it go. At least, I told myself I did. We stayed a couple more hours, made small talk, posed for a few pictures. But the whole time, I kept catching her glancing at Jared. And him? He wouldn't even look at her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles above our bed. She was beside me, breathing steady, one hand curled beneath her cheek. Everything looked the same, but I felt like I was standing in a house where the floor had just begun to creak. Over the next week, little things started surfacing. Subtle, quiet things. She changed her phone passcode. Said it was because of a new work policy about data security. Reasonable, sure, but she'd never needed to hide anything before. Then there were the texts she answered in the bathroom. The new perfume she said was a gift from a coworker. And the late nights. More of them than usual. I asked how the project was going, and she'd rattle off client names I'd never heard of before, voice a little too rehearsed. It didn't hit me all at once. The doubt. The suspicion. It was like fog rolling in, inch by inch, until one day you look up and can't see the road ahead anymore. I started watching more closely, not out of paranoia, but because something in me had shifted that day at the barbecue. I wasn't looking to catch her in a lie. I was just trying to prove to myself that there wasn't one. But the signs piled up. One night, I stayed up working on a presentation, and she came home around 11, makeup smudged, hair tousled like she'd been running her hands through it. She kissed me on the forehead like she always did, but it was distracted, distant. How was the meeting? I asked. She hesitated. Which one? I looked up from my laptop. You had more than one tonight? She smiled, setting her purse down. Yeah, it ran long. She never mentioned a second meeting earlier. I didn't push, just nodded. But I made a note. Jared's question played on repeat in my mind like a broken record. Not the question itself, but what it sparked. The tension, the silence. I decided to call him. Hey man, I said, keeping my tone light. Got a second? There was a pause on the other end. Yeah, he said, cautious. Just wanted to check in. Everything cool with you? Another pause. Yeah, why wouldn't it be? I don't know. You just seemed off at the barbecue. He sighed, and when he spoke again, his voice was lower, heavier. Look, I shouldn't have asked that. It wasn't my place. What do you mean? I mean, just forget it, okay? Don't drag me into whatever this is. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, heart starting to pound in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Whatever what is, Jared. Silence. Did something happen? He hesitated, then said, ask her. Click. That was all he gave me. But it was more than enough. And suddenly, I knew. Something was coming. I just didn't know how deep it would go. I didn't ask her that night. I couldn't. I needed to know more. Something concrete. Anything beyond Jared's cryptic warning and the growing feeling in my chest that the woman beside me wasn't entirely mine anymore. So I watched. Not like a detective, not yet. Just closely, like someone trying to remember the exact path a crack took when it spread across a windshield. I studied her movements, her stories, her tone when she said she loved me. I memorized what time she got home. I noticed when her stories started getting looser. One night, she came in late again, 10:45 this time. She looked tired, hair pulled back, eyes ringed with that faint mascara shadow she usually wiped off before she stepped through the door. She kissed me on the cheek and walked straight to the kitchen. I followed. How was work? I asked casually. She opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water. Long. We had a post-project wrap dinner with the team. Where? She said the name of a place we used to love. Little Italian place near the river with soft lighting and a chalkboard menu. I felt something tighten in my chest. Funny, I said. Didn't know you guys still went there. Thought you said it closed. She froze for a second, just long enough for me to catch it, then smiled. They reopened under new owners. Same vibe, though. I nodded, heart pounding. I'd driven by that place 2 nights ago. It was still boarded up. Sign gone. Windows dusted and graffiti. She lied to me. Just like that. And what struck me wasn't just the lie. It was how easily she told it. How her eyes didn't flinch. How her voice stayed soft, familiar. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee going cold, and tried to imagine a version of this story where I was just overthinking everything. But my gut, the one that used to calm me, was now a storm. I needed answers. I wasn't proud of it, but I did the thing I swore I'd never do. I checked her phone. Not when she was around. I waited until she left it charging on the nightstand while she showered. I didn't go digging far. Just opened the message app. And there it was. A thread with no name, just a number. Dozens of messages. Flirty. Late night. Some recent. One from 2 days ago that said, last night was amazing. Still can't believe we pulled it off. I read that line maybe 10 times. The words didn't make sense in my brain at first. They were too far from the woman I'd built my life around. But they were hers. Sent from her phone. No doubt. I closed it. Set the phone exactly as I found it. Then I went to the sink and threw up. That afternoon, I took a walk. Parked my car a few blocks away from where I knew she worked. Just watched. I knew I wouldn't find her there. I wasn't even sure what I was doing. But something in me needed to see her building. Needed to confirm that the world still existed outside this spinning, collapsing version of my life. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the front doors for a long time. When I came home, she was already there. On the couch, laughing at something on her phone. She looked up when I walked in, eyes bright, smile soft. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Just tired. She stood and wrapped her arms around me. Her head on my chest. I held her. My arms went around her like they always did. But something was broken now. Not in her. In me. It was like hugging a memory. That night, I opened a separate email account. Quietly. No shared devices. I reached out to a private investigator someone at work had once used during a custody battle. I wasn't looking for drama. I didn't even want revenge. I just wanted truth. Cold, undeniable truth. Within 3 days, I had it. Photos. Hotel check-ins. Her laughing in someone else's arms. A man with soft eyes and a too-tight button-up. Someone who didn't look like a stranger. Someone who looked familiar. I zoomed in. It was Jared. Her cousin Jared. Except, not her cousin. Half-cousin. Technically. Family through marriage. Barely that. He'd always called her cuz, like a joke, like a pet name. I remember teasing her about it once, and she said, we're not blood. It's just what we say. I'd laughed. Shrugged it off. Now I felt sick. I stared at the photos. Them together at a cafe. Her hand on his thigh. his lips brushing her ear. This wasn't just a fling. This had a rhythm, a comfort, a routine. And suddenly, that question at the barbecue made sense. How long you two been together? He wasn't just asking about me and her. He was asking about him and her, trying to measure the overlap. The audacity of it sank deep into my bones. He asked that question in front of everyone, with her a few feet away. He asked because he wanted to watch her lie. And she did, with a smile. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the balcony with a blanket, the PI's report in my lap, the sky overhead refusing to lighten. Just darkness, thick and unmoving. I thought of every moment we'd shared that year. Every anniversary dinner, every lazy Sunday morning, every shared look across crowded rooms, and I wondered, how many of those were real? How many were borrowed moments while she lived another life behind my back? I didn't cry. Not then. I just sat in the silence, waiting for the sun to rise. Because something inside me had finally broken open. And I knew the next time we spoke, everything would change. The morning came, pale and unremarkable. She was in the kitchen making toast when I walked in, humming, wearing my old hoodie, the one she used to steal when it got too cold in the house. Her hair was tied up, messy and warm and real. For a fleeting second, I wanted to forget what I knew. But truth doesn't unknow itself. I sat at the table, quiet, calm. She looked over her shoulder. You okay? I nodded. Can we talk? She paused, butter knife mid-swipe. Sure. What's up? I waited until she sat. Then I laid the folder on the table between us. Same one the investigator gave me. I didn't say a word. She looked at it, then at me, then back to it. Slowly, she reached forward, opened it. A dozen photos. Time-stamped. Dated. Some barely a week old. Her face didn't change at first. Just went still. Like all the air had left the room and she hadn't decided whether to breathe again. She flipped through them, silent. I watched her hands tremble. Not violently, but enough. Just enough. When she got to the last photo, her and Jared, holding hands on the steps outside some little hotel downtown, she closed the folder. Then she looked at me. How long have you known? Long enough. She blinked. You went through my phone? No, I said. Not until I had to. She exhaled slow. This wasn't. I didn't mean for it to happen. I nodded. That's what people say when they mean for it to keep happening. She flinched. I didn't plan it, she said, quieter now. But you did protect it, I replied. You chose it. Every day you chose not to tell me. You chose it. She ran a hand through her hair. Her voice was breaking now, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt or just fear of what came next. I didn't want to lose you. I laughed, small, bitter. You lost me the moment you smiled at Jared's question like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. She closed her eyes. That wasn't supposed to happen like that. You lied. Right in front of him. Right in front of me. Silence stretched between us. I could hear the toaster ticking behind her, still warm. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. A sprinkler kicked on. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything. I stood. She looked up at me like she didn't expect that. I'm not here to scream, I said. Not here to beg or break dishes or turn this into some dramatic ending. You already ended it. I just hadn't caught up. Her eyes welled with tears. Please don't walk away like this. I'm not walking away, I said. I'm walking home. Wherever that is now. But it's not here. Not with this. She followed me to the door. Do you still love me? She asked. I paused, hand on the knob. Love doesn't die in a day. But sometimes it gets left behind in places it was never respected. She cried then. Not loud. Just quiet sobs. Hands pressed to her mouth like she was trying to trap the sound. And I let her. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. I packed a bag. Just the essentials. A few clothes, some notebooks, the picture of us from our honeymoon that I hadn't had the heart to throw away yet. Maybe I still needed the reminder. That once, it was good. That once, it meant something. Before I left, I texted Jared. She's yours now. You can stop asking. No reply. I drove without a destination. Just the open road and the soft sound of tires against pavement. I didn't feel free yet. I didn't feel healed. But I felt honest. For the first time in months. A week later, I got a message from her. Just one line. If I'd told the truth at the barbecue, would you have stayed? I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. Because the truth was, there's no saving a story that ends with a lie told in plain sight. To the man who trusted you most, in front of the people who call themselves your family. That one question, it didn't just end a relationship. It told me everything I needed to know about how much I'd been edited out of my own life. Bye-bye.